Hi, I'm E.D. Lewis, and welcome back to my channel. E.D. Lewis Reviews. Before we get started, please hit that like button and that subscribe button that are down below, and please leave a comment. Also, when you hit the subscribe, hit that little bell so you'll get notifications on my latest videos. So, welcome back for another nocturnal review. I don't know if it'll be, nocturnal when you see this, of course, but it's nighttime right now. I actually meant to film this video yesterday. It did not happen because there was, I knew it was going to be filmed later, so I figured it'd go up, sometime in the night or in the early morning. It did not happen because there was something important that I needed to do, and so I did it, and that's, So, this is a nocturnal review, for Wuthering Heights. Oh yeah, by the way, I changed my setup a little bit here. I moved to the side. I'm on a new recording device, so I think it's a little wider anyway. And so I decided, I'm going to have the books behind me on this side, so, Of course, it's not all the books, because there's books down below and books that are not even up there. Anyway, and there's Henry, right there. There's actually a story about him, but that's actually Henry 2.0. Okay, so this review is for Wuthering Heights. This is my copy. It's not a very interesting cover. It was an inexpensive one that was put out at holiday time, so I got it. It was like $4. I was like, oh, perfect, I've been wanting to read that. And I think this edition is done more in the old style because about halfway through the book, it also has like the first few chapters of Great Expectations, which I never read. Like halfway through the book, it says Volume 2 and starts the chapter numbers over again. Kind of like the original tradition, the original edition of Wuthering Heights in a way. But I don't know if the language has been cleaned up like Emily Brontë had done for her sister's work when it was done for its second edition. But anyway, so, yeah. But anyway, so this is Wuthering Heights. It is the great gothic romance, the great, tragic romance story, first published in 1847. The year before Emily Brontë died. And I don't have any notes. I mostly just have characters written down because some of the characters, it was a hard time for me to keep straight a couple characters because their names were so similar. Well, I'll say who those were when I get there. So, this book is about... how do I want to say this? So, this book is about... Well, let's start at the beginning. So, this man named Mr. Lockwood comes along. He rents Thrushcross Grange, and he goes over to meet his landlord, Mr. Heathcliff, and ends up meeting, the household of Wuthering Heights. I am cutting some stuff out, because, I'm trying to do mostly spoiler-free and leave out details that, you could just find out by reading the book. Ends up meeting this strange young girl who at first he mistakes for maybe it's Heathcliff's wife or his daughter. I don't remember if he thought it was his daughter at first. But she turns out to be his daughter-in-law. And this young man who acts like a servant. He's not one, but he acts like one. He sounds like one in the way he talks and stuff. And that's actually a character by the name of Hareton, which I think I'll mention a little bit later. So he ends up becoming ill and having to stay at Wuthering Heights and ends up reading a diary that was written by Catherine Earnshaw. The Earnshaw family is... Well, we'll get to it. Sorry. So he reads it, and then after he goes to bed, he discovers the room is haunted by the spirit of Catherine Earnshaw herself, and she tries to get in. Later on, when he gets back to Thrushcross Grange, she ends up telling the housekeeper, Nellie Dean, about his experience, and she tells everything about the history of Wuthering Heights and the history of the Earnshaw and the Linton families. So, many years ago, Mr. Earnshaw, who owned the family who owns and lived at Wuthering Heights, ended up bringing a young boy home who he kind of adopts and takes, liking, becoming his favorite. And he ends up raising along with his 2 children, Catherine and Henley. Henley is very abusive to Heathcliff and, pretty much distrusts him, like even their mother does. But Catherine soon becomes his very close friend and kind of his protector. They're both kind of wild spirits and very much kindred to each other. So, they end up growing up together, and they go off on the moors together for long periods of time, just kind of disappear and stuff. And then at one point, when they go exploring the Thrushcross Grange across the moor, they end up caught by the Linton family. Catherine is hurt by their dogs. They take her in, and they nurse her back to health and bring her back at Christmas. And she's, her demeanor is very different. She looks very different because she's dressed in all fine clothing and stuff. By the way, by this point, the father, both Mr. and Mrs. Earnshaw have passed away. And Catherine, she starts a romantic attachment to Edgar Linton, the young boy, or, well, he's not a young boy, young man across the way. Heathcliff is devastated by her change and stuff, and he overhears a conversation between Nellie and Catherine, where she talks about that she does love Heathcliff, but she can't be with him because he can't give her the stuff that she needs, status and whatnot. She fears that they will be beggars, so she will marry Edgar. She will help Heathcliff. This sends Heathcliff into kind of a despair, and so he leaves and is not seen for about 3 years or so. In that time, Catherine marries Edgar, and they seem to be quite happy and content with each other until Heathcliff comes back, when Catherine is faced with the consequences of her choices. The man who she once loved and, grew up with versus the man she married and the life that she has now. I don't want to tell any more about the story-wise because it would give too much away, but it was a very good story. It is very different from Jane Eyre, written by Emily's sister, and I love Jane Eyre. I liked this book a lot, but I love Jane Eyre, so if I were to choose which one I prefer, of course it'd be Jane Eyre. But this one was very good, and it's very sad. There's such pain, such anguish, and it's a story of romance and revenge and a heartbreak. And it was rather controversial for the time. Of course, it was published in a time when it was hard for women to, get books published, which was unfortunate, because there's so many wonderful women, right? Female writers is what I'm trying to say. There's so many great ones now and then, and, anywhere in between. So it's a real shame that, women were so restricted, even, with education and stuff. I mean, by then, I'm not sure how it was with education and stuff, but I know it was still hard for women to get published in the time. It was controversial because of the things it deals with, especially with, it shows such cruelty, especially with the characters of Henley and Heathcliff. And, part of the revenge aspect, which Heathcliff has, kind of a vendetta and a revenge. I'm going to take my glasses off because they keep having a glare. So, also, I forgot, I lost my train of thought where I was going with that when I took my glasses off. But there's also kinds of, symbolism with this book, too, and, how even with a bit of religion and stuff, and I think one of the things I read about it had to do with daemonism or something like that, and it was referring to kind of Heathcliff as kind of this, kind of vengeful spirit-like character, kind of this demon-like character, because he seems to come out of nowhere, and he's so vengeful, and he's so dark and stuff. That was kind of a, one of those, it's kind of this challenge to like the readership of the time, and even I think that the critics were very, you know, critical about it at the time. Now it's considered a classic, and so, but it also challenged kind of the morality of the time period. And I think that, you know, the 1840s was still Victorian, I do believe, at the time. Yeah, because, yeah, Victoria was already in rule. So it challenged the morality of the time. But, and again, especially with the character of Heathcliff. And I would say with the character of Catherine, because she's, you know, she's more interested, instead of following her heart and marrying Heathcliff, she ends up marrying Edgar because he can give her what she thinks she needs. That, you know, oh, this is more important than following my heart and, you know, being me versus, you know, what, you know, we're taught to be, or, you know, what, oh, you shouldn't be this, you need to be this, you know. So it was kind of a, I guess, a comment maybe on the challenge of, you know, on the expectations of the times. So that was possibly part of why it was so controversial. Emily Brontë did not publish this under her name originally. It was written under the name Ellis Bell, and it was published with her sister Anne, I think, with one of her works, and it was a 3-volume piece. Emily Brontë, of course, died the following year, and she, her sister, for the second edition, did do some editing on it, and I think cut out it being 2 parts. I think it just made it 1 volume altogether. And so mine's done up in 2 volumes though. So toward the ending, I actually took a little pencil and I wrote in what the real chapter number was, because I just kind of felt it kind of annoying. Because I was trying to figure out what chapter I was on, because a coworker of mine was reading. She's still reading it though. I actually beat her, because a week ago we were talking about, she was like halfway through and I was a little ahead of her, and I finished by the end of the week. So I kind of found it annoying, so I'm just like, I couldn't tell her what chapter I was on. I just said, well, this had happened, and this. She's like, well, I'm almost there to that part, because I was like, okay, so, you know, I don't want to tell, you know, that. When I mentioned earlier the thing about confusion, I have more characters written down here than I even mentioned in the review, because I wasn't quite sure how far I wanted to say, but I'm like, oh, this is a good stopping place. I'll just stop my, you know, summary there. Is the characters of Henley and Hareton. I kept getting confused sometimes with them, because, you know, their names are so similar. And Henley, you know, Hareton is the son of Henley. So, and also there's a character in there by the name of Linton, who has the first name, not going to say who, has the first name as the last name of the Linton family. So that's even, it's kind of confusing. There's characters that are named after each other and so on and so forth. So yeah, but I would highly recommend this book. It is a great classic. It is a lot of there, like I said, it is full of pain, full of anguish. It is a tragedy. It does kind of have a little bit of a happy ending though for a tragedy, because there are some characters that do make it out, I think, okay. And there are some sequels written to this. I know there's at least 1 sequel, and I'm thinking about buying it, because I know where I can get it. And I don't know if there are any others. I didn't look into that. And I know there's a more raunchy version out there called Wuthering Heights, an erotic retelling. I don't know if I want to check that out or not. I'm tempted. But I've heard some people say, oh, this is terrible. You know, they shouldn't have had this person, you know, who wrote it touch a Brontë work. And other people thought it was great, you know, so I don't know. But I'd highly recommend this. It is a classic, and this kind of finishes up the March videos for me. And I'm sure you'll see it tomorrow, so, you know, on April, so the first day of April. So I do have some new stuff started for April. If anybody's interested, I am thinking about possibly, I don't know what book yet, is do a video blog or video vlog of me reading a book, like, you know, like, do, like, however long I'm reading it, maybe 1 a week, where I just kind of talk about where I'm at in the book, how far I've gotten, my thoughts on it so far, and then at the ending, do a review on the book, and tell, you know, give an overview, and give my final thoughts and stuff, without, you know, giving too much away, because I'll do spoiler-free, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with doing spoilers, but I just like to do spoiler-free, and I don't mind watching spoiler reviews at all. So, but anyway, that's what I have for you, and April's got some new things coming up. So I've got some things planned for April. I've got a new tag video I'll be doing. I haven't created one yet. I don't know what to do with that yet, so we'll see. So without any more further ado, do check out Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë, and I will see you guys next time. So, bye-bye.